Hi, it's Pete Cohen here and welcome to episode 149 of the Mi365 podcast series. Today's podcast is called Rules and Rituals for Success. Rules and Rituals for Success. What I want to share with you is really what exactly does it take for people to create success in their life. Now, of course, it depends on what you classify as success, but for me, success is being happy, being healthy, and achieving things. So get ready for another inspiring Mi365 podcast. Hi, and welcome to episode 149 of the Mi365 podcast series. We've obviously done quite a few podcasts, 149 to be precise. And today's podcast is called Rules and Rituals for Success. And my goal is to share with you why rituals are just so important and why they are the difference which makes the difference. Now, of all these podcasts, I know that we've had people all over the world that have made that decision to improve their life, to make that decision to face the facts that in life you've got two choices, really, just two choices. You either move forwards into growth or you move back into safety. Let me say that again. You either move forwards into growth or you move back into safety. And in this podcast today, I really want to challenge you to make that choice to move forwards into growth. If you want me to be a little bit more frank, that's a bit of a weird expression, isn't it? Who is frank? But if you want me to be a bit more frank, what I'd say is, do you want to grow or do you want to die? Look, one thing in life is inevitable. We are all going to die. It's what we do on that journey to death. And I believe many of us are actually in denial about the fact that we are all going to die. There's a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk who's extremely well known in the field of social media. And there's this video where he's in a taxi and one of his fans says, "Can you give me a bit of advice?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're going to die." And it's like, "Whoa, did you just say that?" He goes, "Yeah, you're going to die. It's what you decide to do before you die." And if you really want to leave this world in a better place than you came here in, we talk about this a lot. I talked about this on the previous podcast. It's really time to wake up and realize, okay, what is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to actually become? I'm going to use this word, and I want you to think about this word. This is a key word of the whole of our journey together. If you see me as your coach, this is it. The word is devotion. I really love that word, devotion. What are you devoted to? Really, truly in your life, what are you devoted to? See, when we're devoted to something, I believe we give our best to the thing that we're devoted on. And when we in life, this is one of the things that people sometimes really love me for, or sometimes they don't like me because I ask questions which make people face the reality of what is actually really going on in their life and how they're moving through the world. And most people know they're moving through the world where they're not giving their best to the world because they're letting themselves down. They are living with anything they're devoted to is maybe going around in circles. What they're devoted to is repeating patterns and behavior which keep making them get the same results in life. What would happen if the first rule of your own rituals is to develop rituals that will allow you to be devoted to something that would allow you to get better at something? Some people are devoted to their garden. Some people are devoted to a hobby that they have. And because they're devoted to it, they give their best of themselves to it. And because they give their best to it, guess what happens as a result? They get great results over time. Now, of course, we live in a world where so many people want results now that if they have to look to get better at something, they just get bored and often give up. And those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you can see the picture behind me that says the best is yet to come. How many of you really believe that? This is one of my mottos, by the way. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. And I pretty much say that every single day, so it sets me up. When you look at success, and this is what I've spent most of my life doing, is asking questions. And if someone's really good at something, I really want to understand. And this might surprise some of you, but when someone has something in their life, maybe they think and they do, a fear or phobia, I don't look at that as right or wrong. I look at that like, oh, that's interesting. This is something that you're doing. You must have rituals and routine around running that fear or that phobia. When you look at really what it takes and you think, well, why is this person successful? They're successful because of the little things that they do. And often these things are done when no one's watching. Now, I'd like to think of myself as pretty good at what I do. And my rituals for some people seem a bit crazy. You know, I get up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and I do certain things for the first 2 hours, sometimes first 2.5 hours. I do this for 10 minutes, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, because I'm showing up. And I know there are certain things that I need to do, because if I don't do them, I'm in trouble. And this is the thing, if you don't have rituals and routines in your place, in your life, in place, you will have a lot of confusion in your life. You will have a lot of just feeling like you're never really achieving anything. And the Nobel Prize is not something I know too much about, but in my readings and wanting to get information and give it to people, I've come across a number of Nobel Prize winners. One of them, 1937, a Hungarian who came up with the theory of syntropy, which isn't a theory, I think it's just a fact, that everything in life exists to get better. You're here to get better. If you want to get better, if you try and do it without rituals and try to do it without routines that you do every single day, good luck, my friends. And then another Nobel Prize winner in 1972 said that the issue with the world today is there's too much information. 1972, too much information. What was going on in 1972? You couldn't ask Siri, it was encyclopedias, you go to a library, ask people to get information. Now look how much information there is. And if you don't put rules and rituals and routines in place for how you live your life, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to get pulled off course all the time. In 1972, we didn't have Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, all these things now that you could be getting multiple messages, and you think these things are just going to pull you in a direction that takes you off where you want to be. And if you think about it, and this is sounding a little bit heavy, I suppose, if you think about how the world works with the institutions that exist, often people go to school, especially public schools. You know, private schools were really about people that would end up being managers or leaders in business. Most people who went to public school, the idea there was that you'd come out with an education that you could then go and work for somebody else to fulfill someone else's hopes and dreams. People were not encouraged to think above their station and to think about who they could become. But the class that has existed in society today, especially predominantly in the Western world, has been broken down, and we all have an equal chance. We all have the ability. Even then, even in that system, people had an equal chance, and many people proved to the world that they didn't need that. I'm a great example of that, but let's not talk about me. Let's talk about other entrepreneurial people, whether it's Alan Sugar or Richard Branson, people who proved to the world that they didn't have to be like everybody else. They applied themselves to be the very best that they can be. So I ask all of you to really think about what are the processes that you can have in place. So the rules of rituals, the rules of routine, obviously is to have some form of a goal or goals. And this is where a lot of people do. I mean, they set goals, but then they never have the process in place. The process is the ritual. The process is the routine. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to groove things. So you groove things enough that it just becomes a habit. It just becomes the person you are. It just becomes what you do. It's not that you have to work hard at it. And this is something so important. We'll make more podcasts about this and educate you and inspire you, because people don't change really when you tell them what to do. People change when their perspective changes. And that's what I'm here to do, to give you a different perspective of things so that maybe you can start thinking about things differently and get better results in your life, as well as giving you tools and tips and techniques as well. But the perspective is so important because most of us are fed up with processes and routines. Why? You went to school. And the majority of people who went to school didn't enjoy every aspect of it. Because the routine was, at this time you do this, and this time you do that, and then you get a job. And for many people, it's the same thing. The last thing that people often want to do is have more rules and rituals. It's like the rules and rituals of exercise. You work all day, and then you've got to go and work out. I've been working all day. Why do I want to work out? I want to go home and have a glass of wine and just... But for you to really, truly be who you're capable of being, there are certain rules and rituals that you need to put in your place, because in their place. And if you don't, I don't really know what to say. In 2005, the man who won the Nobel Prize, Stenning, his name was, his theory on the Cold War, basically he said is we have to minimize options. We have to simplify our life. And I know that if any of you listening to this decide to start doing things routinely and ritualistically, you might face some opposition. Opposition from others who say, what are you doing that for? I'm lucky my wife doesn't have a go at me or doesn't try and stop me from getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I know that if I just said to myself, I'll just do it a couple of days a week, that's not going to formulate a habit. In most cases, if you want to run a process or ritual, it needs to be done every single day. And if you don't do it on one day, maybe you'll get away with it. If you don't do it for 2 days, it's almost like you're starting again. So decide today, what is a rule or ritual that you could put in place in your life for you to bring out the very best of you every single day. Maybe you need 3 or 4 different rituals, but maybe just start off with one. And if on one day, for some reason, you don't do all of them, just do one. What's the one thing that if you did that one thing, you know you'd pull yourself back on track. You'd pull yourself back to refocus on what it is that you're doing and where it is that you're going. Rules and rituals for your life will make your life so much more meaningful, purposeful, and successful. Let's not reinvent the wheel. You don't have to. You really don't have to. But this is my calling to you. My calling to you today is to decide, who do you want to become? What is it that you really want to achieve? What are the processes? What are the routines that you need to put in place? If you put these things in place, look to do them at the same time every single day. Simplify your life. If you want the best to come, the best is yet to come, recognize what it is that's going to need to happen. It's those rules and rituals. I appreciate every single one of you showing up. Please leave us a comment if you're listening to this on iTunes. You know, we love that. We're still in the top 10 for podcasts for for news and noteworthy. We're on Spotify. Spread the word. Mi365 is all about you creating the life that you want. And we appreciate all of you that listen and show up. Take care. Have a happy, beautiful day. See you soon.